My name is Mia, and I am 24 years old. Most people see me as just another young teacher, standing in front of a classroom, carrying books, smiling politely as I explain lessons. To the world, I looked simple, calm, professional. Someone who had everything under control. But what no one knew was that behind the classroom door, I was hiding a secret. A secret that was never supposed to exist. A secret that started with just one glance and grew into something dangerous. Because the truth is, I was his teacher, but he became my dangerous love. It was my first morning at the new college. The building was tall, the glass windows shining under the bright sun. I held my books tightly, trying to hide how nervous I felt. Walking into the classroom, I forced a smile. Dozens of eyes turned toward me, curious, expectant, waiting. I cleared my throat, writing my name on the board. "Good morning. My name is Miss Mia," I said softly. Some students whispered. Others looked bored, already tapping on their phones. I tried to stay calm, focusing on the lesson I had prepared. But then, my eyes stopped. Near the window sat a boy, Liam. 19, quiet, his chin resting on his hand. His eyes weren't like the others. They were steady, sharp, almost as if he was reading me instead of the lesson. For a brief second, our eyes met. And in that single moment, I felt something shift inside me. Something I couldn't explain. I quickly looked away, reminding myself. He's just a student, Mia. Nothing more. But deep down, a strange feeling had already begun to grow. The days that followed felt ordinary to everyone else. But not to me. Every time I stood at the front of the classroom, I felt his eyes on me. Liam never said much, but his silence spoke louder than words. Sometimes, when I explained a lesson, I would look up, and there he was, watching me. Not like a curious student, but like he was searching for something more. Our eyes would meet for just a second. But that second felt too long. It made my heart skip in a way I didn't want to admit. I told myself it was nothing. Just a student paying attention. That's all. But when I went home at night, lying awake in the quiet of my room, I could still see his gaze. Sharp. Steady. Unshakable. And a small, dangerous whisper began inside me. Be careful, Mia, because this is how it starts. The bell rang, and the students hurried out, their voices echoing down the hallway. I stayed behind, erasing the board, gathering my notes, ready to leave. The classroom grew quiet, almost too quiet. Then I heard a voice. "Miss Mia, can I ask you something?" I turned, and there he was, Liam. He stood by the door, notebook in his hand. But his eyes were locked on mine. I forced a smile, steadying my voice. "Of course. What is it?" He walked closer, slowly, flipping the notebook open. But I noticed. He wasn't really looking at the page. He asked a question about the lesson. Simple, ordinary. But the way he said it. Soft, careful, almost nervous. Felt different. I gave him the answer quickly, trying to sound professional, my hands gripping the chalk too tightly. "Thank you," he said, his voice lower now, his smile lingering a second too long. And then he left, the sound of the door closing behind him. But I stood frozen in the empty room, my heart beating faster than it should. Because it didn't feel like a student's question. It felt personal. That evening, I sat at my desk with a pile of papers to grade. The room was quiet, the lamp glowing softly over my books. But no matter how hard I tried to focus, my mind kept drifting back to him. Back to that moment in the classroom. The way Liam's voice lowered when he spoke. The way his eyes held mine. As if he wanted to say more than his question aloud. I shook my head, pressing the pen harder against the paper. "Stop it, Mia," I whispered to myself. "He's just a student. Nothing else." But the truth was, I noticed him. More than I should. And the thought of him stayed with me longer than I wanted to admit. As I closed my notebook that night, I felt the whisper of something dangerous in my chest. A whisper that told me this was not the end. It was only the beginning. The next few days felt ordinary to everyone else. But to me, every moment carried a weight. In the classroom, I tried to focus on my lessons, keeping my voice steady, my eyes on the board. But somehow, without even meaning to, my gaze always found him. Liam. Sometimes he sat quietly, his chin resting on his hand, watching me with that same steady focus. Other times, when the class laughed at a joke I made, I'd catch a faint smile tugging at his lips. A smile that felt different from the rest. And when our eyes met, just for a second too long, the air seemed to thicken, like the room was holding its breath. I told myself it was nothing. Just glances. Just moments. But when I walked home at night, those glances replayed in my mind. And deep inside, I knew it didn't feel harmless anymore. That day, the sky turned dark just as the last class ended. Thunder rolled in the distance, and heavy rain poured against the tall windows of the school. I stood at the doorway, clutching my books, watching students rush outside, laughing, covering their heads as they ran. I sighed. I hadn't brought an umbrella. I told myself I'd wait until the rain slowed. But then, I heard a voice. "Miss Mia, here." I turned, and there he was, Liam. His hair damp from the storm. An umbrella in his hand. Before I could answer, he stepped closer and lifted it above both of us. The sound of the rain softened immediately, leaving just the two of us under its small shelter. We walked slowly through the courtyard. Our shoulders brushed, our hands almost touching. Neither of us spoke, but the silence felt louder than any words. My heart raced, and I whispered to myself, "Careful, Mia, this is how secrets begin." That night, after the rain, I sat at my small desk preparing tomorrow's lesson. The room was quiet, the sound of water still dripping outside my window. Then my phone buzzed. I frowned, picking it up. It was a message. From him. From Liam. He had found my school email. But his words were not about homework. Not about class. I hope you got home safe. I didn't want you to be stuck in the rain. I stared at the screen, my fingers frozen. It was polite, harmless. Yet my heart beat faster than it should. I typed a short reply. Thank you for sharing your umbrella. That was kind. I told myself it was just manners. Just one reply. Nothing more. But when his next message came, about the weather, about how he couldn't stop thinking of that walk, something stirred inside me. And deep down, I knew this was no longer just teacher and student. It was the beginning of a secret. One message turned into another. And then another. At first, it was simple. Questions about books. About the lesson. About small everyday things. But slowly, it changed. Do you like reading at night? What's your favorite song? I feel like I can tell you anything. I sat in bed, the glow of my phone lighting the dark room. My fingers typing replies faster than I realized. Hours passed, and still we talked. About our dreams. About our fears. About things no one else ever asked me. I laughed quietly at his jokes, pressing the phone to my chest like it was a secret treasure. But when the clock struck midnight, a shadow crept in. I set the phone down and whispered to myself, Mia, this isn't right. He's your student. And yet, when the screen lit up again with his name, I couldn't stop myself from smiling. A few days later, as I packed my bag after class, I felt a presence at the door. It was Liam. He shifted nervously, his notebook in his hand. Miss Mia, would you like to grab a coffee sometime? My heart skipped. The words were casual, harmless. But his eyes told me it wasn't just coffee. For a moment, I froze. The empty classroom felt smaller. The silence heavier. I should have said no. I should have reminded him of the line between us. But instead, my voice came out soft, almost trembling. Just coffee. His smile widened, relief filling his face. And in that moment, I knew what I had just agreed to was more dangerous than I wanted to admit. That night, walking home, the thought echoed in my chest. It won't be just coffee. It will never be just coffee. The cafe was small, tucked on a quiet corner street. Warm lights glowed from inside, and the air smelled of fresh coffee. I sat at a table near the window, my hands wrapped around the cup, telling myself over and over, it's just coffee. Nothing more. But when the door opened and Liam walked in, shaking the rain from his jacket, his eyes searched the room until they found me. And the smile that lit up his face made my chest tremble. He sat across from me. At first, we spoke about class, about books, about safe things. But slowly, the words grew softer. The pauses grew heavier. Then it happened. His hand brushed mine across the table. I froze. I should have pulled away. I should have reminded him and myself who we were. But I didn't. I let my hand stay there, our fingers almost touching, the air between us filled with something we could no longer ignore. When we left the cafe that night, his voice lingered in my ears. No one has to know, Mia. This can just be ours. And in that moment, a secret was born. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The sound of rain tapping softly on the window. But all I could hear were his words. No one has to know. This can just be ours. I pressed my pillow against my chest, my heart racing as memories of his hand brushing mine replayed again and again. Every part of me knew it was wrong. He was my student. I was supposed to be the one with control, the one with boundaries. And yet, the thought of him made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. Like I wasn't just a teacher. Like I was a woman being seen, noticed, wanted. I whispered into the dark. It's just one coffee. Just one secret moment. That's all. But deep inside, I knew that was a lie. Because once a secret begins, it only grows. By day, I was Miss Mia. The teacher. The one who stood in front of the classroom with calm eyes and steady hands, pretending everything was normal. But by night, I was someone else. My phone buzzed with his messages. Can't stop thinking about you. When can I see you again? You make me feel alive. I smiled in the dark, holding the screen close to my chest like it was a treasure I couldn't share. We began meeting in quiet places. A corner of the library. A street after class when no one was watching. Moments stolen from the world. During the day, I kept my distance. I graded his work like every other student, speaking to him with the same calm tone. But at night, I laughed at his jokes. I listened to his voice. And I let myself believe in a secret love that wasn't meant to exist. It felt like I was living two lives. The one everyone saw. And the one I could never admit. And the deeper I went, the harder it became to remember who I really was. One afternoon, I met my best friend Olivia at a small cafe near our neighborhood. We had known each other for years. She could always read me with just one look. As I stirred my coffee, trying to act normal, her eyes narrowed, studying me carefully. You've been different lately, she said softly. Distracted. Your phone lights up and you hide it. Your smile feels forced. Mia, what's going on? My chest tightened. I forced a laugh, shaking my head. It's just work. New place, new students, you know how stressful it can be. But Olivia didn't look convinced. Her voice grew firmer, heavier. Mia, please. If you're involved in something you shouldn't be, stop now. Secrets don't stay hidden forever. And when the truth comes out, it destroys everything. Her words cut straight through me. I gripped my cup tighter, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Olivia, it's nothing. Really. But as her eyes searched mine, my chest ached with the weight of what I couldn't say. Because deep down, I knew she was right. And yet, I wasn't ready to let go. That night, Olivia's words echoed in my head. Secrets don't stay hidden forever. And when the truth comes out, it destroys everything. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone. Liam's messages filled the screen. You make me feel alive. I've never felt this way about anyone before. Please don't pull away from me. Tears stung my eyes as I whispered to myself. How can something that feels this real be wrong? The next morning, Olivia called again. Her voice was gentle but firm. Mia, I know you think he cares about you. But if he really loved you, he wouldn't make you hide. I bit my lip, forcing a shaky laugh. You don't understand, Liv. He listens to me. He sees me. He makes me feel like I matter. Silence filled the line. Then Olivia whispered with sadness. He's your student, Mia. You're building your heart on something that will only break you. I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tighter. But instead of listening to her truth, I clung to his words. The words that made me feel wanted, alive, seen. I convinced myself it was love. Not a mistake. Not a shadow. Just love. It happened one evening after class. The hallway outside was already empty. The sound of lockers closing fading into silence. I stayed behind, collecting papers from my desk. When I looked up, Liam was still there. Standing by the door. Watching me. Miss Mia, he said softly. His voice almost trembling. I can't keep pretending anymore. My heart skipped. I forced a nervous smile. Liam, you should go home. It's late. But instead, he stepped closer. Each step heavier, the room growing smaller. You're more than just my teacher to me, he whispered. You're the only one who understands me. I clutched the papers tighter. My mind screaming to stop this before it went too far. But then, he leaned in. Slowly. Carefully. His lips brushed against mine. Soft. Quick. But enough to break the line I had sworn to never cross. I froze. Every part of me wanted to pull away. Yet I didn't. And in that single moment, the secret became more dangerous than ever. The next day, the classroom felt different. Every word I spoke, every step I took. All I could think about was the kiss. I tried to act normal. My voice steady. My eyes fixed on the lesson. But whenever Liam looked at me, my chest tightened with the memory of last night. When class ended, the students hurried out, their laughter echoing in the hallway. But Liam stayed behind, lingering by my desk. He smiled softly, lowering his voice. I can't stop thinking about it. My heart raced. Before I could answer, the door swung open. A colleague walked in, holding a stack of files. Her eyes flicked from me to Liam. And for a second, the air froze. I forced a quick smile, stepping back. Oh, just helping Liam with some extra notes, I said too quickly. She nodded slowly, but her gaze lingered. Finally, she left, the door closing behind her. Liam slipped out right after. But I remained frozen at my desk. My hands trembling. Because I knew. One wrong glance, one wrong word, and our secret would no longer be ours. After that close call, I told myself to be careful, to keep more distance, to remember the line I had already crossed. But Liam, he didn't make it easy. During class, while the other students scribbled notes, my phone would buzz quietly on the desk. Short messages. You look beautiful today. Last night keeps replaying in my head. When can I see you again? I kept my eyes on the board, my voice steady as I explained the lesson. But inside, my heart pounded with every vibration. Sometimes, he sat at the back of the classroom, watching me with a faint smile, as if only we knew the truth. And when our eyes met, the room seemed to grow heavier, the air thicker. At night, I held my phone tightly, reading his words again and again. But instead of excitement, a shadow of fear began to spread inside me. Because the deeper we went into this secret, the harder it became to breathe. And I knew, sooner or later, someone would notice. Olivia came over one evening, her face serious the moment I opened the door. She didn't bother with small talk. She sat down, folded her arms, and looked straight at me. Mia, tell me the truth, she said quietly. There's someone. I can see it in your eyes. And I think I know who. My chest tightened. I forced a laugh, trying to wave it off. Olivia, you're imagining things. It's just work stress. But she didn't smile. Her voice trembled, filled with worry. Mia, please don't lie to me. I've seen how distracted you are. And I've seen the way Liam looks at you. This isn't just work stress. Tears stung my eyes. I looked away, gripping the cushion in my hands. I can't explain it, I whispered. He makes me feel alive, live. He sees me. And I don't want to let that go. Olivia's eyes filled with sadness. Mia, he's your student. This will not end the way you hope. It will break you. It will ruin everything you've worked for. Her words pierced straight through me. But instead of listening, I whispered the only thing my heart wanted to believe. He loves me. And that's enough. It happened on a Saturday afternoon. I stopped by a small cafe to grab a coffee. The kind of place I usually went to clear my head. But that day, my peace shattered the moment I looked across the room. There he was. Liam. Sitting at a table near the window. And he wasn't alone. A girl about his age leaned across the table, laughing softly, her hand brushing his arm. He smiled back at her. The same smile I once believed was only mine. My stomach twisted. The coffee cup trembled in my hand. I turned away quickly, pretending not to see. But my eyes burned with tears. A voice inside me whispered, "Of course, Mia. He's young. He belongs in her world, not yours." I wanted to walk out. I wanted to forget. But instead, I stood frozen, watching them laugh together, feeling my heart splinter piece by piece. Because in that moment, I wasn't his secret. I wasn't his love. I was just invisible. That evening, my phone buzzed. It was Liam. Can we meet? Please. Part of me wanted to ignore it. To let the silence punish him the way his smile with her had punished me. But my heart was too weak. I agreed. We met at the small park near the school. The street lamps glowed faintly, and the air was heavy with the smell of wet grass. When I saw him, my voice shook. I saw you today. With her. Laughing. Smiling. Was everything you told me a lie? His face fell. No, Mia. Please, don't think that. She's just a friend. That's all. You're the one I want. You. Not her. Tears stung my eyes. Then why do I feel like I'm the one hiding in the dark, while she gets to sit with you in the light? He stepped closer, his voice urgent. His eyes locked on mine. Because with you, it's real. Because what I feel for you is different. I don't care about the rules, Mia. I don't care what anyone says. You're the only one who matters to me. His words wrapped around me like chains. Dangerous, but impossible to break free from. And once again, I chose to believe him. The next week at school, I felt the change before I even heard it. Students' eyes lingered on me a little too long. Their laughter quieted when I walked past. And in the hallways, the whispers began. Why is Liam always with Miss Mia? They talk too much. Did you see how he looks at her? My chest tightened with every word. I forced a smile in the classroom. Pretending I didn't notice. Pretending my hands weren't shaking as I held the chalk. But when Liam raised his hand to answer a question, when his eyes met mine in front of everyone, I felt the weight of every stare around us. After class, as the students filed out, I overheard two girls whispering near the door. Something's going on. I know it. They laughed quietly, glancing back at me. My heart pounded. It wasn't just our secret anymore. The walls were thinner now. The whispers were louder. And for the first time, I realized how fragile everything had become. It happened on a quiet afternoon. I was finishing up my lesson plans when a message arrived on the staff board. Miss Mia, please come to the principal's office. My stomach dropped. The walk down the hallway felt endless. Every step heavier than the last. When I entered, the principal sat behind his desk. Papers neatly stacked, his expression calm but sharp. Please, sit down, he said. I lowered myself into the chair. My hands clasped tightly in my lap. There have been concerns, he began carefully. Rumors among the students. Your name keeps coming up. Especially with Liam. Hearing his name spoken out loud made my heart race. I forced a quick laugh, shaking my head. Teenagers gossip. You know how they are. It's nothing serious. He studied me for a long moment. His eyes searching my face. Finally, he nodded, but his tone was stern. Be careful, Miss Mia. Even rumors, if ignored, can destroy reputations. I left the office with my legs trembling. my heart pounding so loudly it echoed in my ears. It wasn't proof. It wasn't punishment. But it was a warning. And I knew. Our secret was living on borrowed time. That evening, I asked Liam to meet me. We chose a quiet street away from the school. A place where no one would notice us. When he arrived, his face lit up. His eyes soft, filled with the same warmth that had once made me forget everything. But this time, my chest ached with the words I had to say. "Liam," I whispered, my voice trembling. "We can't keep doing this." His smile disappeared instantly. "What?" "No, Mia, don't say that. We're fine. We just have to be more careful." Tears welled in my eyes as I shook my head. It's not just the whispers anymore. The principal knows. People are watching. If this continues, I'll lose everything. My job. My name. My future. He stepped closer, his voice breaking. "Then let's run from it. I don't care about the rules. I don't care what anyone thinks. I just want you." My tears fell harder. "You're young, Liam. You'll move on. You have a whole life ahead of you. But me, if I keep hiding in this shadow, I'll lose myself." The silence between us was heavy, broken only by my sobs. Finally, I whispered the words that shattered both of us. "Goodbye, Liam." I turned before he could answer. My steps heavy, my heart breaking with each one. And for the first time, the secret we shared began to end. That night, I sat by my window. The city lights glowing faintly in the distance. The world outside carried on as if nothing had changed. But inside me, everything had. My phone was silent. No messages. No late-night words that once made me feel alive. Only emptiness. I opened my diary. The pages blank and waiting. And for a long moment, I just stared. Then, with trembling hands, I began to write. Behind the classroom door. I hid a dangerous love. A love that gave me fire, but burned me at the same time. A love I was never meant to keep. Tears blurred the ink. But I kept writing. For a while, I thought secrecy meant safety. But I learned the truth. Real love doesn't need to hide in shadows. Real love doesn't destroy the person you are. I closed the diary gently, pressing it against my chest. And for the first time in months, I let out a deep breath. A breath of freedom. As the night grew quiet, I whispered to myself. I was his teacher. But he became my secret. And now, I'll never hide again.